Hello, Project Runway fans. I'm Daniel Montgomery, Gold Derby Senior Editor, here with my fellow editor, Susan Wloszczyna, and we're here to talk about the latest episode, Live and Let Die, which we're recording this on Friday afternoon, so the episode was last night. And it was a tie-dye challenge, a one-day challenge, or really an overnight challenge, since they had to make their own textiles and let their textiles dry, so they got to have a sleepover in the workroom, working through the night into the morning. Sounded like a complete nightmare, looked in many cases like a complete nightmare. I thought the runway was going to be a disaster show, but it was actually mostly good, the runway show, except for two looks. Only two people at the bottom this week. Victoria Cosiero, who is getting used to being there, and Delvin McRae, who will no longer have to get used to being there because he was eliminated. What did you think about that outcome, Susan?
Yeah, well, I knew from the minute he made a face when he learned what the challenge was, it was going to be a struggle for him to get enthusiastic about this. However, I will say he did manage to make a pretty good design out of it, even though, as Brittany said, no one's taking notes. She must, yeah, she's one of those girls, Tracy, Flick type people, telling other people.
No, it was totally, but she wasn't Tracy Flick like, because when everyone was asking for her notes because they weren't paying attention in class, she actually gave it to them because she thought how she gotten from them before.
She thought twice about it, but she did it because she didn't want to hear them groaning and moaning while she's trying to create her design. So that's probably why.
Yeah, it's probably faster to tell them than to watch them like break everything and like set the workroom on fire, trying to figure out what to boil and what to freeze and what to.
And then the other moment was Victoria looking around like, tie-dye? What's a tie-dye? I don't know. Yeah. It's like, come on.
I think her leaning in, like I think she was sitting next to Nancy when they were giving the challenge, and when they said, it's a tie-dye challenge, you could see her leaning in to whisper something to Nancy, and I bet she was asking, what's tie-dye?
Right. Well, I thought Nancy, I liked her design the best, pretty much. Even though, Jeffrey, I thought that could have been a dark disaster, but somehow magically it became golden. It was amazing.
Well, the fabric is darker when it's wet. I mean, I don't know why he should have taken a minute to just like wait and see how it looks when it's dry, because that's just how a lot of fabric works.
But Delvin on the after show, he was picking on Nancy for wrapping her up. But, at least she did, she made it work, as what someone once said, right? And I think, I liked it okay, and it wasn't exactly the same pants, but she really does need to make something other than that.
Yeah, after this week, I feel like they're not going to give her any more, like...
No.
She only made the same exact pair of pants twice. So this week they were still billowy, but they weren't really the same exact design. But she's done the big billowy pants now several times, so she's going to have to break away from that. I was annoyed in the after show at how just really kind of just hostile Delvin seems to be at Nancy just in general. That seems to just go beyond her fashion. Because even if she's never had a bad look that is trash.
Right.
Like, she's had looks that maybe she could have pushed herself more, maybe she shouldn't have repeated herself as much. She's never said anything down the runway that isn't wearable. And a few of the designers who are still in the competition have sent things down the runway that are not wearable. And, so, and I can't remember which episode it was, but someone landed at the bottom, and Delvin criticized Nancy. She's like, oh, she just wrapped the thing around the model's top and just like tacked it together. There was a point where someone earlier in the season got a low score, and the judges said, if this wasn't working, you should have just like draped and tacked and just made it work instead of overworking the material.
Right.
What Nancy did was she made it work. It wasn't a groundbreaking look, but it was one of my favorites on the runway too. She did a great job with the tie-dye, even though I was terrified because she didn't do any tie-dyeing at all until like 3 a.m. And so I was so worried for her that's like, oh, this is going to be the episode where Nancy is stubborn. She won't get the tie-dye early enough. She'll, and she turned out fine. And well. Although I agreed with the choice of Jeffrey winning. That was like, as soon as it came down the runway, like, I don't wear dresses, but I had sort of the same reaction Leslie Jones did, where it's like, that's mine. That's like,
and the thing is, you could, and almost any size wear, just, increase the fabric and you're good to go, and it would look good on pretty much any woman. I think they were right. And I don't even think he knew he did so well. That's the thing. He's like,
he was very
anti-Delvin.
Yeah. He was very worried about the military thing and about the shades of green. And when he first showed them to Christian, I was like, that looked kind of like olive puce kind of green. And I'm like, that looks like it's going to be ugly. But when he put it all together, it was a really dark shade of green, but it had the color variations from the tie-dye that were very subtle but very noticeable. And it just looked so sophisticated. It didn't look like the Delvin tie-dye, which had the big red and yellow starburst thing. It looked very modern and very, a little bit of the masculine with that dark color, but, the very feminine, like, silhouette. Such a good dress. And I was so happy he won. And he was so sad that after he won, it's like, yeah, but someone talented is going to go home. And then Leslie Jones had to hug him. It's like, just enjoy the moment. This is your moment. Like, it sucks, but like, this is your moment. I wanted to make the final four so badly.
But Victoria, half her outfit was denim with smush on it. Mutts or whatever you want to call it. It was like, she didn't really give a darn again. And it looked like the curtain rods from, Carol Burnett or something was on the back.
I will say, apart from the pea soup, like poo throw up on the pants, I liked the pants. I liked the pants better than the judges.
The denim diaper?
It wasn't entirely successful.
No.
I liked the idea behind it, and they looked interesting, and so I give her credit for that, but I would have sent her home for that top. Like, just that ruffly thing that looked like lettuce, and it was flapping around like a cape in the back. It looked so bad and so dumb. Why couldn't she make a whole shirt? She had a shirt underneath it that had, like, tie-dye that was really just horribly done, and it's just Victoria is getting to me in a sense that, like, this is, I think, the third time she has had clearly the worst look, the worst looking garment on the runway, and she's been saved. And it's because she keeps bringing these, like, when she goes wrong, she goes real wrong. And so I think the judges give her credit for, like, making an effort, although they shouldn't have the week she quit and put together a dress in 2 hours that looked terrible. So, like, that dress in the sheer challenge, the Ashley Longshore challenge where she did her usual weird strappy thing with the Ashley Longshore pants. And now this week, 3 times she's had the worst look on the runway. And I mean, that's arguable, but they are clearly bad looking outfits. And they kept her through because they like her ideas in general and they like her aesthetic, and they've given her like 6 high scores this season. And it's like, at some point, like, they have to stop giving her the benefit of the doubt, because even Britney, like, if it hadn't been for Christian Siriano, they were ready to get rid of Britney, even though I think Britney's been far more consistent. And she only had like a couple of major mess ups. But yeah, Victoria, I feel like it's put up or shut up at this point. Like, just stop,
Well, on the after show, Christian asked Delvin who he thought would win, and he said Victoria, and Christian's like, what? And he said, because they like when she does something good, they are more enthusiastic than with anyone else. And so he just thinks they see something in her. I'm seeing it less and less myself, but they see something in her that they want to exploit, to put out to the world. I don't know, but I'm not ever wearing a shirt like that, and I don't think anyone else really either.
I think the thing with Victoria is she is so hit and miss that I feel like the hardest thing for her is going to be making the finale, But if she makes the finale and has a chance and has time to put together a collection, she could win. Because they like her aesthetic already. She has a very clear, specific point of view. So as long as her looks in her collection don't repeat themselves one after the other, which they'll get bored by, she can put together a coherent, cohesive collection that has a very specific voice. And I think she has a real strong shot to win if she's not eliminated before. Because I could see her easily getting eliminated, but then if she wins, then if she makes the finale, then she could put together a winning collection.
But Marquise, I mean, his outfit again was terrific too.
It was okay. When Christian
it looked good down the walk.
It looked good down the runway, and he was right that when he styled it with the sneakers and everything else, it looked so ice skatery. It still looked a little ice skatery, but it looked like an ice skater. Like an ice skater would be happy to wear that. So I also really loved the Leslie Jones's comeback when the judges were like, "Oh, we thought Marquise's look was Victoria's," and Victoria's like, "But that's not my style." And Leslie was like, "But Marquise is safe." I want Leslie Jones to judge every challenge from now on Project Runway. We don't need any other judges, just Leslie Jones.
Just bring on comedians that used to be on SNL and we'll be happy if they judge
I loved it the most because she was cracking up the models as they were walking down the runway. Like they're trying to do their serious model walk and she's making these like comments from the sidelines and it's just cracking them up. And I really like that. Models need more opportunities to kind of let their hair down and lighten up on the runway.
But now I'm thinking Nancy needs to just step it up majorly because she can't get away with it one more week. She just can't. Now, okay, the challenge for next week scares me because it's real people.
Yeah.
And that always takes a turn because they want to do their thing and it's down to the wire now, right? It's getting very close to the end, but then you have to please the client and there's always this push and pull and I'm hoping these are mature enough designers that they don't, it's like Olympians and then Olympians and it's just, I want them to be sensitive about it, because it's just so hard to watch when now they have plus size models, but when they bring in plus size models, everybody's like treating them like they're from Mars and they don't, they can't design for Martians or something. It's like, they just blame them for whatever faults they had, So
that's the other thing
I'm praying that these. Yeah, I'm praying that they are a little bit more mature than in past seasons.
Thinking about this final 6 and who is going to have the most trouble with that challenge, I feel like it might be Victoria. Because she's the one we've seen in past weeks where every time she has to collaborate with someone, every time she has to get someone's opinion, she is completely just throws up her hands and like she can't think outside of her own head enough. And so I feel like her client is going to say, "Oh, I like this." And it's like, would you like an asymmetric strappy thing though? That's what she does.
No. I'm just, when I saw what it was, I just said, oh, this goes so wrong so many ways. I just hope it turns out to be an uplifting experience and that one that, will torture us into, Sergio, God knows. We'll see.
The clip from next week's show that they showed at the end did have a little the preview clips are always very deceptively edited, so like comments don't necessarily flow from the other comments we're seeing. But he said at one point, "Well, I thought it was perfect on the runway," and I'm like, "Well, that sounds like he's being defensive about something. I don't know about what, but it doesn't sound like necessarily."
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting. I don't know if I'll feel good to my stomach when watching it. But no, it's like, "Oh, here's my mother. Dress her up for Mother's Day." And they're like, putting her in, potato sacks or something. So let's see how this goes.
Yeah, I actually think Sergio will do well with the challenge because I feel like can like the one where he was the sheer genius episode where he designed based on his model's sort of story of her marriage, and it turned out to be his best look of the season. So I feel like he's good at telling a story as long as it's not a political one, and he can really. I think he'll be able to adapt to the models or to the clients.
I think let's hope this week he got rid of the politics and, I
hope so.
Yeah, because I think it's maybe dawning on him it's not doing him any good to weave a tale that doesn't even match what he's wearing.
Yeah. Although the scary thing is, like, thinking about this final 6, it's like statistically speaking, and of course, every season is different, but like no one has ever won the show after being eliminated, and so that's Marquise and Brittany. There have been 5 Tim Gunn saves, and 4 of them made the finale, but none of them won. And also, and this surprised me a little bit more, no one has ever won over the age of 40, and that's Jeffrey and Nancy. So that leaves Sergio and Victoria as statistically the likeliest two, based on those 2 stats, to win the competition.
Yeah.
Oh, I just don't want Sergio to win. He's really good at what he does, but he just seems like the worst person in that world.
I think it's Jeffrey. I really do, because he's really grown. He feels more confident. I mean, I would be scared about tie-dye too, because you have to wait till it cooks, So, but I thought he did a beautiful job. I mean, he's been consistently now doing better.
Yeah. And the other good thing about him is that he has a clear point of view, a lot like Victoria does, but he's not as stuck in a single thing. He has sent different things down the runway. Like
he made the dress before.
Yeah, he did 2 or 3 jumpsuits, but they were all different from each other.
Yeah.
Substantial ways. So I really do feel like he'll be able to create a cohesive, very him collection that is also has enough variety and has enough visual interest from one look to the next.
So has anyone won more than 2 challenges?
No, it's a 4-way tie with 2 challenges apiece. So Jeffrey now has 2 challenge wins. Marquise has 2 challenge wins. Brittany and Sergio, those are the 4 with 2 challenge wins. And Victoria has 1. And Nancy still holding on, even though she is the last designer remaining who has not won one yet. So I would love for her to win one. Because it's so interesting that they, usually they'll eliminate a designer if they fall on the bottom and they haven't really won a challenge or really impressed the judges yet. They'll eliminate them first. So I was surprised that they didn't eliminate Nancy and Suit Yourself when she was up against Brittany. But I'm glad, because I think she deserves to be there. And but she hasn't won a challenge yet, and it's like she sticks out like a sore thumb now as the only designer who hasn't. She's been a runner-up twice, but she hasn't won one. Yeah,
but you know what? She'll just keep doing her thing, and this will help her profile, I think. It's not like she's struggling so much. She's already, found her way into fashion. She just wants exposure like they all do. So I think she'll be okay, even if she doesn't win. But I wouldn't mind.
And she made it so much farther than I thought she would at the beginning of the season. Like, I thought it's like, the older contestants, even though the older contestants are usually in their 50s, they don't usually go all the way. And so the fact that she's stuck around, and not just stuck around, she's really delivered these really great youthful looks. I'm so impressed with her. Like, just making it 10 weeks, making it into the top 6, after like 10 challenges is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Especially being one of only 4 designers left in the competition who hasn't been eliminated at all.
Right. There you go. So, it's getting interesting now. It's Victoria, though. She does that again.
I think she's got one more chance. They're not going to let her get away with that for a 4th time.
And especially in a challenge with real people, you can't do that. You're going to hurt somebody's feelings, and they'll be disappointed. You can't do that. It's not just you, honey. you got a client, you got to please. Yep.
Yeah, I feel like that needs to be on a T-shirt that she wears and looks in the mirror. It's like, it's not just you, honey.
I have one of those.
Well, thank you for joining me again this week, Susan, and thank you to everyone for watching. We will be back here next week to talk about the Olympian and the Paralympian Challenge. So we will see you then.